Hi, I'm Mike Haduck, and today we're at St. John's in the Virgin Islands, and I'm here filming some stonework. So first we're going to go to the sugarcane plantation and look at the ruins. Then we're going to go into a place called the Mongoose Junction and talk to a guy named Glen Speer. And he built a lot of stone buildings over the year downtown, and we're going to have an interview with him. Then right after that we'll just show a little bit about the island, and that's it. Okay, I'm going to show you where we're at. Here's Florida, here's Cuba, Puerto Rico, and down here the Virgin Islands. So here's a picture of St. John's, and we landed over in St. Thomas and took the ferry over. And all around here is a lot of ruins of sugar plantations, and we did a lot of snorkeling. I'm going to show you that. We're staying up here in the Upper Carolinas. Some of the old stone buildings in St. John's. The old iron kettles, chimney. This was underneath the fire brick. Look at what they used for the stone. It's actually coral. It's all coral. See, all these buildings were built with nothing but cement, stone, and coral. A lot of things to see on St. John's. The old castle type buildings. People ask me, Mike, did these old timers put footers in here? No, there was no such thing as concrete trucks or anything like that. They just dug down until they hit rock or until they were a real hard spot, and then they just started putting their stone right to the top. Here's the fire boxes, and they used fire brick. Look over here in the corner. They used everything. They used coral. You could see the coral. Stone, coral. Right over here they use pieces of brick, and they're still doing that today. And then when they did all that, they would plaster the whole thing. See, here's the stones and the coral, and then they plaster it. And they probably made this out of grinding down coral and heating it. And you see how straight it is? It's out real straight. They put lines up in batter boards so they could get that straightness. So when they put a coating of plaster or parging, whatever you want to call it, it looked real nice and even, like one solid piece. Now, this is some of the ruins of an old sugarcane plantation. This ruin here at one time was a windmill, and they used to use rollers in there to crush the sugar cane, and they used to flow down the gutter into the factory where they processed it. This was like the factory where they boiled the cane, and it went into that pot right there, that steel pot, and it came out into here. And they had it, the timing had to be perfect or it turned into molasses. Now this is old school masonry, where they combined brick with the stone. You see the brick, how they put the brick in, and used any kind of brick they can get, because it was faster instead of building the sides out of stone. And over here they put a doorway in at one time. But this is the tradition they came up with around here. They start putting brick in between all the stone. And you can see the way they put the castle type arches in there, which is still holding up. This is built around 1800. And then you can see how they plastered the top. You can ask me, Mike, how come that wore away so soon? Well, it's because they used lime and sand instead of the strong cements they have today. Now this wall was built over 200 years ago with no footers. Look at it, straight as an arrow. And above here, you can see they used wood. In the old days they used wood. Even if it was to shore it up so they could put a window frame in, but that was the arch. That was what really was holding it together. It's all done out of coral. I'm now in Mongoose Junction in St. John's, Virgin Islands, and we're going to have an interview with Glen Speer, who was like the major mason to do all this stonework here. So here we go. Hi, I'm Mike Haduck, and I'm here with Glen Speer, who built this whole building out of stone. And what year did you come here, Glen?
I came in '69.
1969, and if you ever come to St. John's, I'm going to show you the outside of the building. but he's going to explain a little bit about the stonework here and how he got started in it.
When I came to St. John, there was very little construction, and everything was pretty much in those days done in wood. But all the ruins were stone, and they were beautiful walls to look at. But as I studied them, I realized in the old days they had stone and coral to build with, but their object was to build a stone wall and then plaster it, because their mortar was only coral that was broken up and burned on the beach to make lime, and they used that with sand to make their mortar. And that mortar wasn't sticky, so when they started stacking their stone, of course gravity's always against you, so they would put their stone up, and then they would put the mortar in between it. Then they would take broken brick, which came over on the ballast of ships, and break it up and put it in there with shells and so on. That would soak the moisture out of the mortar and make it stiff, so they could actually stack stones a little faster. Right. And also later, when they were done with the wall, they could come back and plaster it, and the mortar and the brick helped hold the plaster on. So their goal was totally different than our goal of these beautiful stone walls. What we see is what happened to them after years, and the plaster all fell off, and what was left was these beautiful stone walls. So we try and create these from scratch. And
and you say now with the new building codes, the metal inside is hard to deal with.
These buildings I built about 35 years ago, and the requirement of steel was very minor. And these walls are double-faced; they're stone on both sides. And today they make us cast a cast wall and build our stone against it. So the walls end up thicker, and it's more problematic because you don't get quite the same quality of wall.
Right.
And with more steel in it, the walls are more subject to breaking.
Well, that's my brother, Glenn.
This is a newer wall, and I've learned to not let my guys use batter boards and strings to make them lay it up free. So you can see this wall moves in and out. It actually is a much more attractive wall, and the spalling got much richer. They learned to pick the things to go in the wall that fit the space better. Over here, it's not quite as nice, so they got a lot better at putting all this together. And also, we got more aware of the color of stone, and so it ended up being just a much better wall.
Right.
And then casting concrete as we go along right into the wall. Again, these windows are original. They've never been changed. There they are. They're out in the weather every day, and Okay, so this is a different style. This style was done primarily when I first came to the island, and it's very close. It's a beautiful wall, and it takes an immense amount of time and a lot of stone. And it's very labor intensive, and they don't do this kind of wall anymore. In the old days, when we paid our masons $3 an hour, they could work for days and days and build a beautiful wall. Today they get like $40 an hour or $50 an hour, and you can never do that wall. Fortunately, a mason that worked for me for years and was retired, I talked him out of retirement, and he's 74 right now. I'm 78, and he and I built these walls.
He built these walls. Yeah. Look at that.
They're totally beautiful. Double face. That's against a cast. That's the law was by the time we built this. We put forms up. These walls are 14 inches thick. So what we would do, we'd tie all our steel, then we'd do like 3 foot of stone, and then cast behind it, and then go 3 feet and cast behind it. All the gutters in my buildings are cast, and they're cast in place, and it forms a bond beam that catches water, which was so important historically, and even today we have cisterns and we hold our water in, and they're very durable. There's no maintenance to them.
So now I'm just going to walk around and take some scenes of the work him and his masons did, so here we go. You can see the steps, and you can see that's all precast concrete. You get up there, and all the windows up there, it's all precast concrete. Now this is precast concrete. Made it all the way up with stone. Now we're looking at the back side of the building. We're going to go inside that circular stairway. So we're going to walk inside. It's almost like walking in a cathedral. And look at this circle stairway we're going to be going up. Stairways. We got the precast concrete here, the arches, and this is actually a brick arch here holding up the sidewalk that you see up there. So we've seen the way that Glen did it down at Mongoose Junction, and this is the place that I'm staying at. And I just want to show you the way this mason did it. He added seashells and he added brick and he had a piece of glass up here. I always tell you that every stonemason has their own style and their own technique, and there's no right or wrong way to do stonework as long as it works. And here's a perfect example. Something you never see in Pennsylvania, yet this job looks great. Here's the way they did it. These stones are real hard stones to work with, and they're natural to the area, so it's natural for these to get big joints. So what they do is they fill in the big joints with little pieces of stone. They put brick, seashells, some coral, other seashells. You get over here, they got full pieces of brick, they got bottles, you see coral, you see conch shells, and all kind of different things. And the job really, really looks good. But see, that's the way they do it. It's their tradition. And I just keep preaching that every stonemason has their own style and technique. There's no right or wrong way to do it, as long as it works and it looks good and it's functional. This is a look at the bay and the island from where we're staying at. We're driving along some steep and windy roads in St. John's. We are going down the back roads to a nice snorkeling place. So St. John's is a beautiful place. Some of the beaches, as you can see, are rock, and then some of them turn into sand. Brother's down here and he's seeking some financial opportunity or anything else he could find. Now here's a place, Skinny Legs, where all the sailboaters come in from Coral Bay. Me being an old sailboater, I thought I'd take it to the dinghy dock and show you what it looks like from there.